And these have been some of my biggest multi-baggers, so to say, in the last 3 years. The chances are that our growth rate will accelerate. Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So on today's video, I'm going to help you understand two things. One is that why in the year 2025, we are likely to have moderate to high inflation. Number 2 point, that how is it going to impact your investments? For example, if you have already invested money in Indian stocks, mid cap, small caps, or you have put a lot of money in Nasdaq or gold or real estate, then how this high inflation is going to impact and where the investment opportunities are. So I'm going to do a macro deep dive on this topic. Now, also the year 2025 is around the corner and all of us are worried about our wealth. At the same time, we should also worry about upgrading our career, and by learning new skills like artificial intelligence, we can really skyrocket our career. Now, I would recommend you to join artificial intelligence training. This is a very hands-on training that is going to happen soon. You can check the links in the description and comment box. Now, this training is usually paid, but for my viewers, the first 1000 people who sign up by using the links in the description and comment box, it will be made available for free. Now, on this training, you will learn about how to use complex artificial intelligence tools to solve complex problems and increase your productivity, job hunting and salary hike strategies to stay ahead in competitive markets, ways to frame business strategies, manage smarter data, and even build your own personal brand. Moreover, you will get access to 20 plus AI tools. Now, whether you are in tech, marketing, sales, freelancing, this AI workshop is going to be extremely beneficial for you. Already 1 million people have signed up for this workshop and have boosted their career. So in case you are interested, definitely go and check out the links in the comment and description box. And with that said, let's move over to the main video. So the first key point that you need to understand or kind of wrap your head around is the fact that 2025 is likely to be a moderate to high inflation year. There have been two major indications around this. The number one indication was that recently the GDP data of India came out and it came out to be roughly 5.4%. Our central bank was predicting that we will grow at 6.5–7%. But despite 5.4% growth rate, our central bank, which is RBI, it did not do interest rate cut. So this is the first story. The second story happened very recently that just yesterday, the US Fed decided to cut the interest rate, but they also explained that, hey boss, we are not going to do more than 2 rate cuts this year. And as a result, this happened. Then here you can check that S&P 500 fell quite aggressively. So a natural question comes, bhai, aisa ho kyun raha hai, right? I mean, what macroeconomic sense does that make? So the first key point that you need to understand is that the government has a choice to make between balancing inflation and balancing growth. Now, for example, if the Indian government cuts the interest rate, or rather the RBI cuts the interest rate, then the chances are that our growth rate will accelerate. Okay. But at the same time, what this is going to do is that this is going to accelerate the inflation also. So right now, one of the prime reasons why RBI is not cutting interest rate is that they fear that India mein food inflation bahut hai and ye बढ़ जाएगा और, right? So therefore, we cannot cut the interest rate. Okay. So what are they doing? They are sacrificing growth. What is the US government doing or US Fed doing? Well, again, they are worried about, dekho yaar, in the US job market or our job market is doing okay compared to other parts of the world. But having said this, it's not as if that we are going to do very fast interest rate cuts. Okay. And if we are not doing very fast interest rate cuts, then it means that, growth is not going to accelerate really fast. And this is going to reflect in S&P 500. Okay. Or for that matter, Nasdaq or koi bhi US ke stocks ho gaye. So this is the basic viewpoint that both the governments are little bit worried about the inflation problem. कि कहीं inflation वापस बढ़ तो नहीं जाएगा. And if that happens, that will create a lot of havoc because the governments have spent maybe like 2.5 years, last 2.5 years balancing or solving this inflation problem. And if it comes back, it's going to create a lot of issues. So then for us investors, what is the viewpoint that we need to have? Where is it that we should be investing? Stock market छोड़ के निकल जाए, unlisted में invest कर दें, gold में invest कर दें, where should we go? So for that, you need to first and foremost study the current levels, understand what is happening in each of these specific markets and accordingly take investment bets. Okay. So let me go asset by asset and give you a little bit more clarity on that. I'll try to make it broad so that we can cover a lot of asset classes. So first and foremost, the first key asset that I am bullish in the year 2025 is unlisted stocks. Okay. Now, the last time I made a video on unlisted stock, it was Swiggy, लोगों ने इतना हल्ला मचाया, पता नहीं मैंने स्विगी ना बोल दिया, ये क्या ऐसी कंपनी बोल दी जिसके बारे में किसी ने कुछ सुना ही नहीं है. ओके, सो पागल ही हो गए थे लोग, राइट. पीपल जस्ट लॉस्ट इट. नाउ एट दैट पॉइंट इन टाइम आई हैड परचेज स्विगी एट रफली 360-365. आप ये वीडियो जाके देख लेना, आपको खुद पता चल जाएगा. एंड राइट नाउ द स्टॉक इज समवेयर अराउंड लाइक 560-570 विद इन अ मैटर ऑफ 3.5 months. ओके, नाउ अनलिस्टेड स्टॉक्स एग्जैक्टली होते क्या है? इट्स वेरी सिंपल दैट बेसिकली यू हैव लाइक सीरीज ए बी कंपनीज. जैसे कोई स्टार्टअप बनता है, राइट, वो शार्क टैंक वगैरह पे जाता है. सो दिस इज स्टार्टअप फेज. देन उसके सीरीज ए बी सी डी होती हैं, right, and the company grows from this small dot to little bit bigger. Then the company IPOs and then it finally becomes a listed company, right? So ये 3-4 stages होती हैं, and इसमें there is a stage called as unlisted stage which is before IPO, right, and somewhere around where the company is fairly mature. For example, Swiggy, right? Swiggy जब उसका IPO announcement नहीं आया था, उस टाइम पे इट वॉज इन अनलिस्टेड स्पेस एंड यू कुड हैव पिक्ड सम इक्विटी देयर. बट वंस द कंपनी IPOs और इट अनाउंसेज द IPO, तब होता क्या है? देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ मार्केटिंग दैट happens for that particular company and there is a marketing alpha that gets built on that company. Okay, ऐसा थोड़ी था कि Swiggy 360 से एकदम से कोई बहुत अच्छी कंपनी बन गई and suddenly it has become like 560 rupees. Why do you think this 200 rupees premium came? Well, because this is of marketing alpha that has been added. To cut the long story short, in the unlisted space, what typically happens is that the valuation of a company is somewhat sensible. Now, अब ऐसा नहीं कि this is like free फोकट वाली चीज. In this, what ends up happening is very simple, that there is a certain amount of uncertainty risk that you are taking. Now, what is the meaning of uncertainty risk? Well, uncertainty risk means that okay, you buy like Swiggy, okay. और अभी बहुत सारी कंपनीज हैं, जैसे HDB फाइनेंस इज देयर, ओके, यू हैव SBI, AMC. नाउ दीज आर नॉट लाइक स्मॉल स्टार्टअप्स, एंड वी हैव लाइक OYO, राइट. दीज आर नॉट स्मॉल स्टार्टअप्स, दीज आर फेयरली मेच्योर कंपनीज, राइट. जैसे SBI और HDB तो बहुत बड़ी कंपनीज ही हो गई. इनफैक्ट SBI AMC is the biggest AMC in India, okay, so it's not even like a small company. Now these are all in unlisted space. नाउ होता क्या है कि इसमें अब नाउ इफ दीज कंपनीज IPO एट सर्टन स्टेज, अब मान के चलो यहाँ पे 100 यूनिट्स इनकी प्राइस चल रही है. Now, once they IPO, there is going to be a marketing alpha that will be added on this. But there is an uncertainty. Now, what is the uncertainty? The uncertainty is कि ये कब करेंगी IPO, right? करेंगी भी नहीं, right? ऐसा तो नहीं कि करेंगी नहीं. Then what are you going to do? So you are taking uncertainty risk. Therefore, you are getting lesser valuation. Now, that in a high inflation environment, even the stock valuations also go high. जो 100 रुपए की चीज होनी चाहिए वो मिलने लग जाती है 130, right? Why? Because the prices of everything goes up, right? This is a basic headache that happens in a high inflation environment. So therefore, if you are getting to buy certain equities or certain assets in the unlisted space, in the private space, where the valuation to you kind of makes sense. I'm not saying that all the companies in the unlisted space will be undervalued. Nothing like that. You have to judge the valuation from that lens also. But what I'm simply trying to tell you is that there is a subset of companies in the unlisted space where there is a very high probability of that company getting listed. Those type of companies might be undervalued in the unlisted space. So picking those type of companies in the unlisted space might make sense. Now I have written a note. It's there in the description and comment box. You guys can open it up, check it up, get more idea of what unlisted space is. And in case you guys are interested, you could consider executing on that. So this is the first asset class that I am bullish about. Now the second asset class that I am bullish about are value stocks. Now what are value stocks? Now there are two types of companies in the stock market. One is called as growth companies, right? And the second is called as value companies. Now growth companies are type of companies on which there is massive PE expansion that can happen. A classic case study would be something like, let's say, DMart. Okay, so now what was the thing with DMart? By एक point पे DMart was trading at like 120 PE, right? 120, 130 PE. Abhi it is going through like a PE correction, right? So abhi I think it is around at 85 के PE पे, right? And this is a note that I had done on my member community also, explaining that, you know what, why you should not be holding high PE companies right now, because they can undergo a value correction. So जो growth companies हैं जिसको market multiple या PE multiple बहुत ज़्यादा दे रहा है, those are very dangerous companies to hold. That is how I define growth. Okay. Now what are value companies? Right now there are two categories of value companies. One is value and second is deep value. Deep value ऐसी कंपनी जो 8-8, 10-10 के PE पे चल रही है, 12-12 के PE पे चल रही है. Now अब इसमें हो क्या सकता है कि there are genuine problems with these companies. Or the fact is कि you know what, a company which is at 11 PE If it is in critical service space, there is a chance that it might go to 22k PE. So for example, if you consider a company like CVS Health Corp, now this is a US based company, and यहाँ पे आप क्या देखोगे कि for example if you compare it to Nasdaq, and this is like S&P 500 not Nasdaq, so ये S&P 500, this pink line, this has gone up by 300%, whereas CVS has gone up by only 32% if we look at the entire story from 2008. Okay, so this is a very important point that you need to understand. Why? क्योंकि आप अगर ये वाला phase देखो, for example from 2009 all the way till this, right? So यहाँ पे क्या था, that something like CVS was growing faster than this pink line which is S&P 500. तो होता क्या है कि there is always a rotation between value and growth in the stock market. My assessment is that in the year 2025, 2026, the value stocks are going to be back with a bang and they are likely to do well. So if you find good value stock companies, then it might make sense to build some positions on them, right? This is not a stock advice कि आप ये जाके company खरीद लो and all that stuff. All I'm simply trying to tell you is figure out value stocks and try to build some positions in it. It might fit with your portfolio. So this is the second key asset class I am bullish on. The third key asset class that I am bullish on and I have already built a lot of position is rent generating real estate. Now many people कि भाई गोवा तो बर्बाद हो गया, वहाँ पे टूरिज्म खत्म हो गया. I genuinely refrain from commenting on all that BS because लोगों को कुछ पता होता नहीं है, 5 रुपए भी नहीं डालते किसी इकोनॉमी में, and then they have all the things to say about that कि गोवा बर्बाद हो गया, ये हो गया, वो हो गया. See guys, this is not the first time that Goa has witnessed a problem when it came to tourism. In fact, Goa के बारे में तो इतनी बुरी बातें कही गई हैं, right? And I'm talking about Goa because I have a lot of real estate investments in Goa. Now, Goa के बारे में इतनी बुरी बातें कही गई हैं कि वियतनाम सस्ता है, थाईलैंड सस्ता है, गोवा तो बहुत महंगा है. भाई इट्स ओनली गोवा, राइट? ना शिमला नहीं है महंगा कंपेयर टू जॉर्जिया और मेनी अदर, क्या मुंबई में बहुत सस्ते मिलते हैं होटल्स. द पॉइंट इज दैट एंटायर इंडिया व्हेन इट कम्स टू लग्जरी सेगमेंट इट हैज बिकम एक्सपेंसिव. ओके, सो इट्स नॉट एज इफ दैट इट्स ओनली गोवा प्रॉब्लम और गोवा रियल एस्टेट में प्रॉब्लम. वहाँ पे कमेलिया के अपार्टमेंट पीपल आर बाइंग एट 100 crores. यू कैन बाय better apartments in like New York, which is a much better city to live in compared to Gurugram. अब ऐसा थोड़ी है कि गुड़गांव में बिकेंगी नहीं चीज़ें. But anyways, coming back to topic, why am I bullish on real estate? It's very simple and आप थोड़ा सा logic लगा के देखना, that will give you more clarity. Now there are 3 points that I will tell you. Number 1, Indian real estate is based on black money, right? This is a plain fact, okay? Now the black money problem actually accelerates when there is higher taxation in the economy. So अभी बहुत high taxation चल रहे हैं and black money has been back with a vengeance. Demonetization के बाद और demonetization से पहले जितना black money था उससे ज़्यादा black money is flowing in the economy right now. आप एक बार गूगल मार के देख लेना, आपको एग्जैक्ट नंबर पता चल जाएगा. दैट इज़ अ प्लेन फैक्ट, ओके. एंड लोग क्या बेकार की बातें करते हैं कि ओह हमारी तो रेंट लाइक 2-3% आती है वॉट एवर इट इज़. भाई लाइक 1 CR में इफ़ 50% of the purchase price is on black money, जो डील होती है जैसे दिल्ली वैली में, राइट? इट्स लाइक व्हाट 60% ब्लैक मांग लेते हैं, 50% ब्लैक मांग लेते हैं. हाउ मच टैक्स हैज बीन पेड ऑन दिस? ओके, जीरो. द आंसर इज जीरो. सो हाउ आर यू डूइंग यील्ड कंप्यूटेशन ऑन दिस 1 crore? इट डजंट मेक सेंस because on this 50% or 50 lakh you have paid zero tax to begin with. Okay, so anyways, let us not get into all these complicated things on public videos. So to cut the long story short, it is not as if that real estate is a bad investment to begin with. This is point 1. Point 2 is when it comes to a high inflation environment, real estate, especially rent generating real estate, go up in prices first. Why? अभी एक recent change हुआ था when it comes to the indexation benefits being taken away from real estate. Now what does this mean? For example, पहले क्या करते थे लोग? People used to buy a patch of land, okay? And let's say 1 crore में खरीदा, okay? And let's say in the year 2000, right? And 2015 में you sold it for 3 CR. अब आपका टैक्स कितने पे लगना चाहिए कैपिटल गेन्स? 2 CR. बट देयर यूज टू बी इंडेक्सेशन बेनिफिट्स. वाई? बिकॉज इन 15 years देयर वुड हैव बीन इंक्रीज in inflation also. So on an average आप 6% मान लो, right? So straight line करते हैं तो 6 into 15, so which is equal to 90, right? So आपकी 90% growth इस पैसे में, right? और almost 2 crore तो यहीं पे हो गया. तो आपका liability you can offset, right? 1 CR पे आपका टैक्स लगेगा roughly, मोटा I am doing computation. So this used to be called as indexation benefit, right? Now this has been taken away. Now what type of real estate investment does this hit? Well, it hit this type of investment, which are buy and hold investments. Now if you are owning a real estate जिसमें आपने आज खरीदा 2024 में, right, let's say at 1 crore, and this property is giving you a rent itself of let's say 6 lakhs, so आपकी yield कितनी हो गई? 6%. Now will you sell this property to begin with? The short answer is no. So the demand of these type of properties will skyrocket, right? And these type of properties are very, very good. In fact, I have been able to aggregate these type of properties quite aggressively over the last few years, and these have been some of my biggest multi-baggers, so to say, in the last 3 years. So to cut the long story short, when it comes to rent generating real estate, it's not as if that this is going out of fashion. In fact, this will become more in fashion. Market case study is Dubai. Now this is what the data says in Dubai, that even in the year 2025 there is expected to be a rent increase in Dubai. Now that is again quite fascinating, because people were speaking about the fact that Dubai में rent बहुत ज़्यादा है, this that stuff, और कितनी rent बढ़ जाएगी, right? So I mean, this is what the expectations are in 2025. Now this applies to Mumbai, this applies to Delhi, this applies to Bangalore, etc, etc. I feel that again Dubai market is again a very good market. I have already purchased something here. I am buying more, and this is the third category of investment that I am quite bullish on in the year 2025 given the high inflation scenario. Okay, so the next asset that I am bullish on is gold, right? Now gold is a very interesting case study, because if you take a look at this chart, what you would notice is that between the year 2015 all the way till 2019, the gold did not go up in price dramatically. In fact, hardly कुछ उस पर movement हुआ था, and between 2020 to 2024 it has gone up quite aggressively. So अभी बढ़ेगा gold, नहीं बढ़ेगा gold, what is going to happen with gold, etc, etc. See, gold prices increases not necessarily due to inflation, but because of the expectation of more money printing. Now while I maintain that government's mandate is to control inflation, but at the same time we need to understand the fact that the governments have a lot of debt that it needs to repay. Okay, now where will it get that money to repay? Well, it will again have to go to money printing, but that money will not flow down or trickle down in the economy. So it is not going to create inflation at the base layer. Okay, so this is a little bit complicated. Maybe I'll make a separate video on that. But what this ends up creating is that this creates a situation where the governments themselves end up buying a lot of gold. For example, in the last 4 to 5 years, the Chinese government, Indian governments have been major buyers of gold. Many other countries, for example, El Salvador. Now that has picked up Bitcoin, right? Now all the countries, or like a large number of countries, are hedging their own cash, which they are printing, by some other fixed asset. For example, Bitcoin or gold. A lot of countries are doing it. They will continue to do this because there is still a lot of debt that needs to be repaid. And for that reason, I feel that gold is not over yet. It will do well. It might not do as well as it did in the last 4 or 5 years, where the CAGR was absolute crazy. But there is a very high chance that it will at least match the stock market performance, so to say, right? So this is something that we can definitely expect. Okay, so the next asset class, which I'm not really bullish on, but I'll just comment on this because many of you might be invested in, it is mid-cap 150 index. Now, why am I not bullish on mid-cap, small-cap stocks as of today? Now, by the way, I had already made very good money on these mid-cap, small-cap companies, purely in index, to be honest, right? And now I have exited majority of them. Now, मैं आपको थोड़ा सा बता देता हूँ कि why is it that I am not super bullish on mid and small caps as of now. Okay, so थोड़ी सी हिस्ट्री देखते हैं, right? So for example, from यहाँ पे थोड़ी सी प्रॉब्लम हुई थी मिड गैप की. So if you consider like 2015 all the way till 2020, तो कुछ नहीं खास ग्रोथ हुई थी on small cap stocks, right? So I mean on in a 5-year period, not even like 8% की ग्रोथ थी CAGR, right? Which was absolute horrid. Okay, now फिर क्या हुआ, right? कि for example this was the golden period, right? From here to here, in one single year, the mid cap index went up by more than 100%. Same applies to small cap index, that it went up by 100%. Now the usual growth rate of small mid cap companies in India is somewhere around like 20-22% CAGR. And 5 साल की growth आ चुकी है, right, on in one single year, right? And since then, the small cap index and mid cap index have been consolidating. Now, what is the meaning of consolidation? आप यहाँ से देख सकते हो. So it's going sideways. So there is a very high chance that we will go in this range right here on small mid cap companies. These are very complicated companies to hold right now, right? So this is point one, and इसलिए I am not super bullish on these. In fact, the area or the segment in the Indian equity that I'm bullish on are large cap companies, right? Why? Because, for example, if you study private banks, they haven't done really well in accordance with the increase in profits HDFC हो गया, Kotak Bank हो गया, ICICI, Axis, all these companies have started to rebound. That's one. Asian Paints is available at a 4-year low. I think it has given 0% run up in the last 4 years. That's again a company that could get revived. So these type of large cap players are likely to perform better. That again goes to the fundamental theory that I was explaining you, which was about value stocks, okay, over growth stocks. Now again, if you consider something like HUL or Nestle, again you will find them in a value zone. Now ठीक है, HUL का PE ratio must be around like 56, 57, but traditionally it has always traded very, very high, and it has certain kind of comparative advantage in the market. So it's not as if that HUL is a weak player by any standards. You cannot compare HUL to Mamaearth, for example, okay. HUL has product legacy, it has very strong brands, therefore it gets a higher PE ratio. So I think these are like some key areas where I am very bullish on, and I am building my positions accordingly. I would encourage all of you to join my YouTube member community. I give fundamental information on that. It will make you more confident in terms of whatever investment bets that you are making. It will give you a fundamental analysis on things, and it will give you more confidence. That's the intent with which I run that community, and you get to interact with a lot of other viewpoints also on that community, which will help you become a more sharper investor. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.